What's going on, guys? And welcome to another edition, another one, another one of the Warcry Podcast. I'm your host, Yahola Tiger, and I got a really special episode for y'all today, or whenever this thing releases. I think we're looking at after Labor Day, but I am joined by the man himself, Donno from Rez Scares. How you doing, man? I appreciate you joining me.
I'm doing good. Thanks for the invite. I'm pretty excited. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. I know we kind of corresponded back and forth. You sent in those stories, and I was like, man, I know because one thing about your show that I really enjoy is like you don't just do the scary stuff, but like the enlightening part of the show. But it
Yeah,
is a little spooky too, though.
it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's creepy, but in a good way, I guess. But if you don't know what they are too, like you can like I don't know, with me, I know kind of what the signs are now, having experienced them, like a lot of them. So I know when it's like a good thing. Um,
Yeah.
Spooky ones are, yeah, I have a few more of those, but those will be in the future. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and these are little signs just with my own personal journey. So,
Yeah. Hey,
yeah.
and speaking of that, um, so I found you. I really it was by luck, honestly. I just was typing in, because I was trying to find Native American podcasts to listen to, and I had just joined. Uh, at the time, it was Unsolved Mysteries of the Res, but now it's Spirit Talkers, and I come across your podcast, and your podcast obviously is called Rez Scares. How did you get into the podcast game and started telling stories? How did that come about?
So like we always used to get scared, and tell stories like ghost stories, when you're a kid, teenage years. I've always been interested in it. Podcasting, I think it was during COVID I started it. Because I've always wanted to tell the stories, but I didn't know like any natives that actually did it. So coming across you, Chris, Tyler, and Russell, that's what kind of got me into it. So I credit you guys, my family too, and my community. I asked them about it, and they said yeah, because they're stories, but they're also part of our culture, right? Our traditions, our history. There's so many different um, like topics or different types of spirits and stuff like that. And you being from Oklahoma, right, and me from
Mm-hmm.
Canada, we have similar stories, just a little bit, different. And some we have like Sasquatch, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that's a bit universal, but yeah, like it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Yeah, because one thing, like I said, one thing about, and I get this a lot sometimes in comments, and when I've been on other shows, especially like non-native shows, there's always natives listening to something, and they always say that there is a difference, but it's not like the gap isn't that wide with like me being from eastern Oklahoma, Muskogee Creek, Cherokee, and then where you're at in Canada. It's like there's differences, but there's kind of not. But I agree with you on that, man. There's some things I be trying not to say. I really be trying not to say.
Yeah, yeah, like DW. That's the first time I've heard of her. Was with you guys, and we have like I don't want to call it the goat man because I don't. That's not what it is in like native. I don't know in our how to explain it. Like there's the hat man, goat man, but this hat man, the guy who's in black, or even if he's not, but he has hooves,
Mm.
the feet. So yeah, I've told a few stories about him, and there has been some listener stories with that recurring man. So I think it's the same spirit, but I'm not sure. No, I don't think we'll ever know. But when it comes around, it's usually when either something personal is happening in your life, like I don't know. For me, it's a warning. For others, it might be something different, right? I don't want to speak for anybody, but myself. Um, in my experience with that, so it's scary, but I know it's also wake up call. And as I go through, me and my brother had an experience at a fire we were doing, and that's going to be coming up soon. I hope we got to record it. But the long walk home is the first time, and I don't know if he had hooves, but I didn't look at him. I I just seen him walking by the house I was at, and every time
Mm.
I tell that story or even listen to it, some of my friends were listening to it while I was there, and I was pacing around because it makes me, I can still feel the I don't know, emotions and the scared, the fear from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that sticks with me, but I also remind myself that, kind of try and stay on the good path, I'll say. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Try to live right, man. So, people be messing around with stuff, and it ends up not in a good way. But so you mentioned I guess it's not really goat man, but a man with hooves. Could you tell the audience that maybe that hasn't heard that story? Could you tell that story if you're comfortable with that? I think I lost him. Oh no, I think I
Uh,
lost him.
can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, I got you now.
Okay,
Yeah.
my phone turned off. Sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Might
was
be
like,
yeah, I better not say that. Never mind.
hey, yeah, yeah. This is we're back, guys. We're
Yeah,
back.
sorry.
That's one thing with the interview. Sometimes with the interview process, sometimes you start talking about things and
Mm-hmm.
electronics start messing up. But
Yeah.
I know you mentioned, like I said, you're a storyteller, um, and could you, I guess, go into maybe your first experience that you've had with something kind of creepy or spooky? When it comes to your experiences or even experiences of your family, what would be the first time that you had those types of experiences?
I think that the one that really got me was that guy that walked me home, or that I don't think it was a guy. Like they call them bad spirits too. We call them. It's a different name. I don't want to say it in native because I didn't say it on the podcast, but I had mentioned the name, and it means bad spirit in our language.
Mm,
So the first episode, I was telling the story of I was at my friend's house and we were like having drinks or whatever, and this was years ago, over 10 now, I think, maybe 11 or 12 years ago. So I was walking home, like I just said, I hope the devil, I'll say, doesn't walk me home, and we were laughing. So I go out our driveway, turn left, there's a stop sign there, and so I always look left, right, and behind me, just to make sure nobody's, I don't know, walking around. I'm not paranoid, but just to be safe, you never know. So there's nothing looking left and behind me. And so I turned right, and it's a pretty dark street, and this was before our new street lights came in that were really bright. So we had like the dim ones. And so I walked down, and we call it the crossroads, or the gate, they used to call it, where I go straight uh, onto the street where my house is. But I look left, right, and behind me, and there's nothing, nobody there. Like, I'm not like drunk. I'm like buzzing maybe. So I go through the crossroads, and I go, really wanted to smoke. So I went to my friend's house, and him and his girlfriend, they had the bedroom in the back of the house. So I went down the driveway, and it's not too long of a driveway anyways. I tap on their window a couple times. There's nobody there. So I turn the corner of this house, and I see this man, and he's tall. I don't know how tall he is, but he has a tall staff. I'd say like maybe a 12-foot staff, 10-foot
God,
staff. Yeah, and he's probably 9 to 10 feet tall. And his strides are huge. Like he's walking, and he doesn't see me, but I stop. Like fuck. So sorry, I'm swearing, but
you're good.
still, I'm like, hands are just sweating. So, oh, anyways, so I let him go for a bit, and I walk up, and I'm turning like back left onto my road, and he's up ahead a bit. And so the street lights up a ways, and but I can see his silhouette, and he's going short, fat, tall, skinny, like he's shifting.
Mm.
And yes, so I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like I keep walking because I'm stupid. I don't turn
Man.
around. I don't turn around and run. But anyway, so I'm walking, and he hears me somehow, probably because I'm in on the sidewalks there, it's gravel. Um, so you must hear the pebbles or something that I'm like stepping on. And he stops mid stride, turns his head, nothing else, that staff he's holding in front of him, and he waits for me. And I'm like, my blood goes right to my feet, and I'm shaking my
Oh my
head.
God.
I'm glad this isn't nighttime because I'd be, yeah, freaking out. Anyways, so he's waiting for me, and I get up to him. And I was going to turn around and run, but something said, don't run. He'll get you. Like he's going to chase you if you run, and he'll get you. I knew it was something bad, something scary. But um, yeah, so I get up to him, and he's on the other side of the road on the right, on the other sidewalk. I get up to him, and he's staring. So his head is, he turns it to stare at me like from the side. And I'm walking, and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Donovan." This is my full name. And he said, "Where are you coming from?" And I told him my two friends' names. He said, "Well, where are they?" And I said, "I think they're spearing because spearing is what we do in the fall. So it must have been near the fall that this happened, September-ish. I don't know. Anyways, um, uh, so we're walking. That's all he says. He doesn't ask any more questions, but I can feel him staring at me all the way. He doesn't look where he's going. I'm watching, like, I'm not looking at him because I don't want to see his face, and I couldn't anyways. Looked like there was a smoke or mist or something in front of his face, or a blur. You know how they blur out images?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Something like that. And so I'm sober at this point. I'm walking, and we come up. I'm the last house on the freaking left of my street, and it's dark. And to make it worse, our street light in front of my house is out, so it's black. It's pitch black.
Oh
And I'm
man.
walking with this man, or this spirit, or whatever the heck he is. And there's a road that goes to the right, and it goes all the way around back out of the community. There's only one way to get in and out of here. And my house is last house on the left, so I'm just about to turn. He's starting to turn on the right side to get on that road, and he says, "I'll see you later." I say, "Okay," and I run. I bolt, and my driveway's long as fuck, and it's dark. And I run up. I get my keys out because we always lock our doors, and I lock the doors, and I'm freaking out in here. And my mom and my brother are sleeping at this point, and I wake them up. I wake my brother up because I don't want to scare my mom. Um, and I kind of tell him, and he's like, okay, he believes me, but it's not something he's ever experienced. But yeah, that was the worst thing. One of the worst ones, because this guy, he comes back 10 years later. So
Whoa.
yes, and it's a totally different. I know it's him. But yeah, that's what me and my brother are gonna talk about, and hopefully I'm gonna get him to do it this weekend because that's something I need to get out. And then there's more. It's kind of a whole family, not a family thing, but a whole thing throughout my life. Like I've heard stories, so I'll just say it now. Like my mom used to dream of the devil when I was in her stomach. My aunt's like, "Are
Mm.
you Satan's spawn?" I said, "I don't, maybe." I don't know. I don't know. But
Man.
yeah, but this thing has been around, and I'm not gonna say it's a devil because it's a different thing, but it
It's
wants
something.
me, yeah. And I guess yeah, it's scary and all that,
Man.
but I'm
I
learning
got
from that. Yeah.
oof.
Yeah,
I
so
got goosebumps from that, man. I got
yeah, so
goosebumps from that.
this goes all the way back from when I was like in my mom's womb. So, and I just pieced it together this year because like I've heard more stories about my mom, and I'll get into that after this. Like, I put all of these little stories and pieces together, and then I'll go like right back. And I think I'll do a longer episode to kind of talk about it and talk myself through it too, because this is an interesting. because I don't know, like, well, I know what it wants because I don't know. I don't know. That's just, yeah, it's a suspense.
Man,
Keep it at that.
man, man,
Yeah.
that is that was a great story, man. And that's one thing that
Thanks.
with one of these, and for Cherokees, we kind of got a. It's we would I don't know if we deem it as a witch or a shapeshifter. I know creeks have similar witches and things like that. And
Mhm.
to me, what is very interesting about uh, that whole the description that you give of that entity or that being,
Yeah.
to me kind of reminds me of like what do they call that thing? What's those things back in Europe? I cannot think of the name of it. They're half man, half centaur.
Oh,
Centaur?
Centaur. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have
You know,
stories of that too, actually.
do you got one? You got one?
Yeah.
I've never heard one. I mean, I've
Yeah.
heard of them, but I've never. Someone's never told me a story.
Yeah. See, so we have this it's in our reserve. So it's a turn where it's pretty dangerous. You gotta slow down. Um, so anyways, coming in to the reserve, um, or even going out, you still have to slow down. But people, I've heard a story where somebody had seen a half deer, half man. And I don't know if he had a deer head or vice versa, but or walking on like human feet. Either way, it was, yeah, um, yeah, they've seen it walking across the road and into the woods. And we have a lot of stories. So one of my stories about that turn, we call it Dead Man's Turn. I don't know where it got that name. People have gotten into accidents there, and yeah. Anyways, so yeah, this guy, and he's in his truck and he's driving, and can I tell this story? Sorry,
Yeah, let it
kind
rip, man.
of
Yeah,
okay.
let it rip.
Yeah, so I did this one. I don't know what episode it was. Anyways, so he's driving, and there's a hitchhiker on the road, and so it's raining. He picks him up, and the guy asks him for a cigarette, and so he has one already lit, so he's gonna pass it to him, and it drops like by the passenger side, where like foot the floor. Sorry, trying to fit it out. And so he goes to get it for that guy, and the guy has hoops. He can see the hoops in that glow, like
Mm.
the amber of that cigarette. Yeah, and then once he gets up, he looks and that thing is gone. It's out of the car. Yeah, yeah, the
Golly.
car. Yeah. I've heard that story numerous times. We have a lot, and I wish I would have, wrote some stuff down because we have older ones that have passed on, but their families still they still have stories. So I need to do something like this where I invite them on my
Mm-hmm.
podcast, and get them on there. And I've been trying to do it, but I haven't been able to, get the right words. But I figured it out now. I think I just got to write it down and kind of go from points and stuff like that because I'm always deleting, erasing, like it's not good enough. Perfectionists, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, some would say some of us are, but yeah. And I was trying to do a Ouija board podcast recording, and I did one, but I kept saying we and they, like we felt, they felt, but I can't. I was like, I can't. You can't. You don't know what your friends were even thinking. Like, yeah, similar things, but I don't know how they were feeling when we were messing around with that stuff. And then I got scared. Like, it was weird. You know how I don't know if you think you bring in energy. I don't know, maybe you do. That
Mm-hmm.
you open that little doorway for them to get in. But yeah, I got freaked out, so I deleted that first one. So I'm gonna get together with my friends and we're gonna do it somewhere else. I don't want to do it in my house. I wouldn't even bring that board into my house. So yeah.
I'll tell you something that kind of happened. I was recording.
Yeah.
I can't remember what episode it was, and it might have been the Dogman episode that I did because I had talked about shapeshifters in that, and I was I was in bed, and I remember we had just got done recording, just posted it, and I was like, well, I guess I'll go to bed, and so I ended up, going to bed, And I remember waking up randomly throughout the night, and I felt like something was in the house because one night, and this is kind of a weird thing, but like
Mhm.
the garage door was open. Like we always close our garage door. That's like a thing. Like I'm weird about that because our cars are in there. We got all types of valuables in the garage, and it
Mhm.
was open, and the door was unlocked. And I was like, that's very strange. That's kind of weird. Makes me weird. That was the previous night. Well, then I woke up and I saw something walk from the back door into the kitchen, and it's
Oh
a straight
man.
shot. And I
Yeah.
looked. I said, what is that? And so I got up. I was getting ready to fight somebody, man. I thought somebody was, robbing. I was like, oh man, I finally get to fight somebody. It's been a while now.
Yeah.
But I go in there into the living room, and it passes through the back doors connected to the living room, then it goes into the kitchen, and then I went and looked. I checked all over the place. I checked my daughter's room. I was being all quiet, and there was nothing. Well,
Yeah.
then the next couple day or the next day, I believe, or it might have been the day before. I can't remember, but the we heard a Betsy, my wife. She heard she heard a howl from the bedroom, and I was like, and I said, it wasn't our dog? And she goes, no, it was a howl. I heard it. It was in the middle of the night. It was a howl,
Oh man.
and I was like, yeah. And so that's why I get kind of weirded out when it comes to uh, when it comes to recording certain things. Like I do a lot of my recordings in the middle of the day, dude. Like I can't
Yeah.
do them at night.
Yep. I get it. That's scary because yeah, it's like, I don't know if we attract them when we talk about them, but I don't think that's a coincidence. I mean, it's
Yeah,
so crazy. Like it feels crazy, but we're not crazy, right? We all have, well, not all of us, but a lot of us have experiences, and we don't want to talk about them. And that was another thing too, was I was a little bit iffy. I didn't know how it was gonna go, but it turned out pretty good. Yeah, like I used to do them at night, and man, this one episode, I forget which one it was, but I could felt like somebody was behind me. I was sitting at my computer desk recording, and then after I was done, yeah, it felt like someone was right behind me, and I looked, there's nothing, but I don't know if we freak ourselves out so much that, but if your wife heard a howl and you seen that figure, yeah, it's
just
like,
I was like, man, that was so weird, and
yeah,
and I also think and I'm not like I said, I'm not gonna hate on natives, but there's some people get kind of jealous when you're doing things you're trying to make,
yeah,
and they try to see what you're doing, and I was always told, especially here in Oklahoma, I was always told to kind of be careful with especially when you're at the grounds, or you're at a powwow and you run into, because you're going to meet a bunch of people and you're going to run into a bunch of people, and you just never know with someone slip medicine bag into your,
yeah,
or slip something into your whatever whatever
mhm,
you're carrying or whatever. And so that's something that like I've always kind of been weary of, especially talking about these things.
yeah,
um
yeah.
it's just but kind of moving forward. So so with your podcast, what would you say, amongst your episodes, or even something that you've kind of done? What would you say is, besides the story you just told? Which one would you say that made you feel uh, kind of like not creeped out, but it gave you like a feeling of like not happiness, but kind of, what I'm saying, like it kind of like it gave comfortable, like made you comfortable. Like if you had a story where it was like, man, that's kind of creepy, but like at the same time, it didn't make me feel uncomfortable like the story you just told.
Yeah, so my dad, he passed away. So that was an episode I did. Um and I was talking about his fire because we have sacred fires. We do them for 4 days. It's to help them, told it's to help them pass or get to the spirit world, to help them along, right? So I was doing that, and like I could hear footsteps, like people walking up and down the ramp, and we all heard it. There was like a few of us out there. My brother could hear it from inside the house, and I was sitting beside my friend, and like I felt someone pat, like not pat your shoulder, but put the hand on your shoulder, on my shoulder, and I was like, "What are you touching me?" I said, "Don't touch me like that." I was tired, and I'm like that. So she's like, "I didn't touch you," and I said, "Okay, it must have been my dad," and she got kind of creeped there. But stuff like that. So that was, I think that was one of the first times I, you know, was creeped out. But then I thought about it, and I knew it was him. Like at the time, I don't know, it gave me comfort, but you're still sad, you're still in that mourning. And then after the fires, I always feel drained, but because I have to mourn again, if that makes sense, because there's so many people, there's so like it's awesome. You have so much support. But after you're alone, you get to, you start thinking of everything again, right? So it's kind
Hmm.
of a double mourning. But yeah, yeah, that was pretty cool. And yeah, with my mom's too. Cardinals, they're always there. Turtles was my dad's.
Mm.
That's our clan. We got that from our great grandpa. I think he told us a story about that. How we got the turtle because we were, I don't know if they're white porcupine or something before that. Not sure, but anyways, yeah. So that was part of the happy scares, but I kind of want to give them their own names instead of the happy scares. Get them a little bit more personalized for people because there are people who want to share. But happy scares is fine for now. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, but those are the kinds. Yeah, with my mom, I don't know if I put this on the episode. It's hard for me to keep track of them, what I've told.
Yeah,
So I got to
I
kind of
agree with you.
listen to them again. Yeah. So with hers, that was I was in the basement. I had a lot of help with the fire that time because my friend was and my family, they stayed for quite a while. And anyways, my bed was in the basement, so I went down there and I was like crying and stuff, and I felt this blow in my ear, and that my hair went right in my ear, and I was like, okay, so hi,
Hmm.
okay, I'm going to bed, and I put my thing over my like it covers over my head like a kid. I fell asleep, but I knew it was, I think it was her, so I'm gonna say it was her. Yeah, but that creeped me out at first because I don't know, I don't usually experience like um people or spirits or something like touching me or physically moving, like I don't know, my hair, I guess. But yeah, but those are, yeah, they're comforting and they're creepy at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
ask you this: and with your people, do you guys have to? What I guess do you guys have to like here, like with creeks and some Cherokees, but mainly I learned this from my Creek side. Let's go to Creek side. Is that you have to sit with the body for a certain amount of time? Do you guys is do you guys have a similar kind of thing, or is it just is it the fires?
It's usually the fires, yeah. We so out here you kind of have to be buried in a cemetery unless you're um you're cremated, then
Mm-hmm.
you keep the ashes, put them wherever. But we have a church, and we usually put them in the church, and we can stay with them overnight. Um, but yeah, that's how basically how it is out
Mm.
here. I wish there was something where we could do that, and like and some people they can have them in the house, right? They can have
Mm-hmm.
them in the house, or so yeah, that's happened before. Where we've sat with them. Yeah, I think it just depends on, yeah, how what the people want to, right? Like in their,
Mm-hmm.
it's we have a lot of uh United Church, Christians out here as well. Like not, I wouldn't say a lot, but we have some. So it's really a kind of a traditional thing to have a wake, and then the next day the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but traditionally, yeah, I'd like to, that'd be cool. Well, not cool, but to have them by the fire too, if the family wants a fire, and we don't push um the traditions or our teachings on people, um as they don't on us, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we respect each other, yeah, unless it gets to the point where they're we're pushy, and we don't want to do that. But we want to respect. It might not be our way, um, but it's their way, and you got to respect that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Um, yeah, because I mean that's one thing that we had to, because this is kind of creepy, but like when my grandma passed, my grandma Sheridan, she we we had family members take turns staying with her as she was passing away, because with her and with certain beliefs that she held, you know, there's a thing called a raven mocker, which is comes and basically eats the heart and takes part of the soul and gives them
mhm,
kind of a longer life. And that's kind of a traditional thing that we did, for her, um, as well. As we just wanted to stay with her while she was passing, so she could go peacefully. And
yep,
but kind of moving forward. So
mm,
I know Canada's always known everything. Every time that I've ever
mm.
kind of heard about Canada is y'all Sasquatch stories, and
Oh
I know
yeah,
you got some.
yeah, yeah.
Could you tell the audience a few Sasquatch stories? Because I know I'll get some comments like, why didn't you make him tell you Sasquatch stories? But I'll let you go ahead and tell those stories now.
Yeah, so we've had, I don't know, I think we've had them for a while, but we didn't, well, with me, I shouldn't say well, I didn't know about Sasquatch. Like I never grew up learning about that, that spiritual native side. Um, like I've seen Harry and Henderson's, all those Sasquatch movies. I knew what it was, but I didn't know how close it was to our culture and history, right? But um, yeah, so it was a pretty bad situation in like our drugs, alcohol, all that kind of stuff. So the first real, not real, but the first time I really got into it was the people, they'd seen it. They seen it walking on the road, walking through, the backyard of somebody's house. And there was just like on the other side of the woods from my house. Um, and I actually recorded something, and I put it on an episode. I think I put it on the Saba one. So Saba, that's what we call Bigfoot in Ojibwe. Um, yeah, so they've seen it. Um, and one of my friends has an interesting theory that they follow apple trees. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, there's one story too. Okay, I'll keep going anyways. So around here, me and my brother were outside and we could hear tree knocks. And there was one like fairly close to us. We live near the lake. And there was a knock to our left and then a knock up the road to our right. And you could hear them howling. I got something howling on tape or on the recorder. Didn't get the tree knocks because I should always take my phone outside because that's when, stuff happens. And so we heard the tree knocks, we've heard the growling. One of my cousins she had, you could smell, the musty smell they say they have, skunky smell. You could smell that outside of her window. And she went out and there's like her garden. She had a garden and apples. And those were, kind of smushed and there was some eaten, taken. Like the garden was just a write off, she said. And she could hear it walking around outside her house. There was another old gentleman. It was told to me that he had seen a nesting. You know how gorillas nest? They
Mm-hmm.
flatten down a bed of, grass or whatever. Yeah, and there's actually, they said there was hair there, and I'm like, okay, well, where the heck is the hair? Like, I want to get me some of that. Yeah, but we didn't get that. Um, and I don't know if it ever got tested or anything. I should talk to um him, but I don't know if he'd be comfortable. Like it's kind of a thing you have to delicately, because maybe they don't know or they don't, they want to know what it was. So, and then So me and my friend, we were at her house, and this is the same one that I came from with that thing that walked me home. So that's the same house. We went across the road, and we have like a community center and a big field at the back. So we were gonna look at. There was a meteor shower, I believe, that night. So we're sitting on these big rocks, and we heard this snapping, and um, like it was huge, and then like it was in the woods, and I was like, "What is that?" And we thought it was a bear, and then it made a grunting, like a grunting noise, kind of like I don't know if it's like a monkey noise. Oh, so we got up out of there, and like we were walking, and it snapped, and it started walking, quite fast through the woods. So we ran, and we ran into the house. So yeah, there's stuff like that. She has apple trees down her way, and I just seen, I think it was last summer. We have an apple tree actually in our front yard. Um, so I'm not sure about that, but it makes sense. I mean, they're following food. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't, yeah, I've heard they come from portals, but I don't know. I've never seen one physically. I've wanted to, but I don't know that I probably regret wanting to. Yeah, there's a lot of stories out here, and there's a lot of, in Canada there's a huge amount. Like, if you catch it on video, you kind of know which ones are the hoaxes kind of thing. You can see it, but I don't know. That's interesting because like we have the seven grandfather teachings, and he is um honesty, I believe. So he represents, or he or she, or they represent like one of the seven grandfather teachings. So I think it comes around when it needs to, check up on us, wake us up a little bit. So I don't know. There's so many theories on it, but what you know I just believe I don't believe it's anything. It's scary, obviously. Like, you don't want to, don't want to mess with it, but I think they know. I don't know. I think we're closely related to it more than we think,
Mm-hmm.
as, as Native people too, right? So.
Yeah, and that's one thing that like I said, I talked to all types of people about this, and I was on Bigfoot Crossroads with Matt Knapp, and I shared my opinion about that, and my opinion is I think they're people, man. I really do. I
Hmm.
just kind of my theory, my ongoing theory is that I think they know medicine. I think they know those things, those old
Yeah.
ways,
Hmm.
and I believe a lot of times when people see them, they want you to see them. Like
Yeah.
there's no if ands or buts about it. They're like, hey, I just want to let you know you're not living right, you're not doing this, but they're always, it seems like they always come around when something's happening, maybe a sign, like you mentioned before, maybe it could have been a sign or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Because um, there was a wigwam. So like it was a lodge, not a lodge, but a house. Like, it's supposed to replicate what we lived in back, like, before colonization happened, or contact, both. So the door to like lodges and houses that we were taught faced the east, but this wigwam that they built, and this was at our daycare center, so the kids could go in and sit around, have a fire. We'd have a fire with them, tell stories, but it was facing the west, and the west is seen as the spirit world, where we go. Um, so we come in from the east, we go out in the west. Is one of the teachings I had gotten from our elders. And so when that happened, that's when kind of the activity started. So I'm like, is it a coincidence, or is it, did it come through that wigwam? It's hard to say, but I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know if they disappeared. But have you ever seen, those videos where they cloak?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's like Predator, Prey, that movie.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
looks like that, and I'm like, that saw that like Bigfoot, or is that Predator? Like, maybe we had, I don't want to say aliens, but another being, right? That
Mm-hmm.
mimics that predator. There's so many. It's so interesting. Like, I want to get into that more, like research it more. Um, yeah. but Bigfoot, he's a mystery. But yeah, I believe he does know medicine as well. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And you know, kind of another cryptid or entity or being that is kind of, you know, I would say synonymous, or not. I mean, maybe really not synonymous, but kind of close. It's kind of that dogman werewolf type creature that
Mhm.
people keep seeing. Have you heard anything in your part neck of the woods or part of the, you know, where you're at? Have you heard any stories about, you know, werewolves or anything like that or of that nature?
Um, no, I've never heard of the dog man. I mean, we had there was a story where like humans would shapeshift into dogs,
Hmm.
but it wasn't the dog man, the upright bipedal, wolf man
Hmm.
or whatever dog man that walks around. I haven't heard anything around here. Maybe people haven't talked about it yet, but I've never yeah, we've never witnessed that. We
Mm.
have yeah, there's one oh man, I don't know. There's one that comes around. So if there's something tragic coming around, it's not a dog. I guess it looks like a rabbit ears, coyote-ish, standing on 2 feet. But if like there's a tragedy coming, it's like I don't know if it's an omen or a warning or just I don't know, but it shows up. And it's been seen. I've only heard it being seen 2 times, and it does have a name that I don't. I got one of my close friends has an experience with it, so I'm gonna. He wants to be on the podcast, but we're busy, right? Like
Hmm.
we're busy with our cultural stuff, like learning, teaching people with our jobs, families,
Hmm.
So hopefully at some point I'll have that story. But yeah, the dog man, no,
Okay.
I think I'd be, yeah, I wouldn't want to see
I
that.
mean, imagine seeing like a 9 foot tall dog
Hmm. Hmm.
on its hind feet. Nah, I'm good, man.
Yeah, yeah, no thanks. Yeah,
I'm good.
you guys can keep that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's send that medicine away, please. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Get out of here. We'd just be howling and we'd be like, nope, I'm gonna blame you whole. Yeah.
But yeah, you know that's one thing I hear a lot. But what's kind of an entity or a being that is up in Canada that maybe you don't hear much about here in the states or here in Oklahoma or, you know, those Western tribes? What's a being or an entity that's up in Canada that we don't really maybe know much about, or that is kind of like a rare sighting, a rare thing?
Okay, so there's so we Curb Lake. Well, that's where I come from. Sorry, just let that out. Anyways, we have islands that we are part of the treaty that they signed. So in the lakes, so if you're out fishing at night or you're coming from across the lakes, people have cabins across there as well. There is a canoe with old Nishnawba, so old natives, and you can see it at the corner of your eye, and it's like a silhouette, but you can see the ripples from the canoe, going backwards, and you can see them
Mm.
paddling. And I don't know what those are, but I think they're just our ancestors. So yeah, there's that, and then there's that um, coyote rabbit looking thing that I don't hear much about. Um, Always like that man in black. I don't know. I think that's pretty similar to others. But yeah, there's those two that come to mind. Um, and we all have LPs, I think.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, like I told a few stories on them. But yeah, I'm hoping to get that one story. And I do have a story that a listener had shared, but I didn't get too much details. So I want to get in contact with them to see if they have more details. But even if they don't, even to tie it in to my friend's encounter with that rabbit thing.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very
Definitely.
interesting. You
Hmm.
know, because like you got, I mean, that's. I wonder if it's always like a geographic thing where like you guys see, you know, that coyote rabbit looking thing, and we see like an owl. Like, do
Yeah,
you guys have anything
we
regarding
have,
owls
yes,
in your culture?
yep. So with owls, yeah, they represent death, right? We know someone's gonna pass, and we don't know who, but um, I just learned, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, the same friend that seen that thing, he gave me this little, like a printout of, there's uh, the teaching of the owl. So my granny loved owls, so they've been around. Like you can hear them hooting in our woods. We own, like our family owns a bunch of. We're pretty close together, which is good. So when we hear an owl around here, we're fine. Like we don't, we see it as our granny visiting. But when we see one somewhere else, well, me, I'm not going to say we. I always say that, but yeah. So yeah, there was an owl actually, the baby one, and it just sat on this, like there was a store, one of our convenience stores. It would sit there, and then like, people were petting it, and I'm like, oh no, no, that's not good. So this little owl, it goes and it sits on this house for a really long time. It kind of grows up for a while there, and I believe it's the same owl because I took pictures of it, which I don't do that anymore. I don't want to see those. Like I know what it is, and it is spooky. So yeah, the people pass away, but with that teaching, I don't know where it's from. I should look at it. I gotta find the printout again. But they say that owls come and they help our people cross over to the other side, right?
Hmm.
They're seen as bad omens because they have a bad rap, right? Because when you see one, someone's gonna die, or
Something
so
bad's gonna happen or something. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So ours is usually the death. Um, but now that I think about it, and that's what I try to teach people and kind of help them understand that they're here to help the people pass. They're not here to take them over. But it's scary too because someone is, you don't know who it is. But someone's gonna pass like real within a week, I would say. Um, Sometimes it's sooner. But
Hmm.
yeah, and I also got a teaching that they are the keepers of our medicine at night, right? They watch because they don't sleep, but they watch all of our, take care of our medicines at night. So I like
Hmm.
to see them in a good light, but I'd still, yeah, get creeped out, especially when there's like the baby one and you can pet it. That's different. I think
Yeah.
that is totally different. I don't know if that's you know, something brought by somebody. I
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go too much into that because I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to, stir up any hard feelings or anything like that. But yeah, that's so the owl like flying by your truck, like it's usually a white owl. We see one of the snowy owls, and I don't know if
Mm.
they're like, am I still there? Sorry.
Yeah, you're so good. Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah. So, um, yeah, this one was not a white owl. It
Hmm.
was, I don't even know what kind uh, yeah,
Like one of those old barn owls type looking.
yeah, but it was like a grayish looking. It looked old, but it was a baby. Um,
Hmm.
it was fucking scary. I got creeped
Man.
out. I went, got my shit, and got the heck out of there. I was not touching that.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
didn't want
and
no
I wanted
dealings
to,
with it.
yeah, say something like, yeah, don't touch that, but no, you can do whatever you.
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, go ahead. I'm my, yeah,
But yes, and that's yeah, because one thing that over here, and I've had this happen. I've had multiple family members. Eventually, I'll do an episode on owls, but
yeah.
one thing that kind of creeps me out about them is, especially when the omen ones, like it's like a sign or whatever. They're like there'll be an owl. Like I've had family members tell me about they've seen owls that are like 4 foot tall,
Oh my, yeah. No,
or like and there's not owls here that are 4 foot tall.
no, no.
But yeah, but there's always all these types of kind of crazy things and things that like I said we mentioned before something similar we have things similar over here than that's there and um, we're almost at the hour point
Yeah.
and I appreciate you coming on but I got one more thing for you before we get out of here man.
Okay. Yeah.
I want you to tell me your keenest story. Tell me the best story that you have. It could be regarding anything, but I don't want to put you on the spot now. But
Mm-hmm.
I know you got one that's in the tuck that maybe that hadn't never been told, or you kind of kept to the side. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, if you could tell me one of your keen stories, and then we'll get out of here.
All right. So this one, I haven't experienced it, but my cousin. So we were at a fire, doing a fire for somebody, and like we talk uh, ghost stories and stuff. Like we're we're creepy. Anyway, so he comes along and he has a lot of stories, and he said he'd submit, but no. So I might have to just go over there and visit him and get them. But this one can creep me out. So, anyways, there's a park, the park that where we took the baby to take pictures. So the powwow grounds. Before that was the powwow grounds. There used to be, and I don't know if this is just a legend, to scare people. Uh, Anyways, so there's this old man, and he had long silver hair, braided, and he'd stand by the water and he'd wait for somebody to come up in their boat or canoe, and he'd call them in. Are you hungry? You want something to eat? And they would say, okay, like, yeah, so they'd park their canoes or whatever. They'd go up, they'd eat with that man, and he would, um, I don't know if he put something in their food or if they were just like, tired from traveling, but he would, wrap them up in rope, tie them up, and he would bring them down to the water, and he would play a song on his drum, and this big silver snake, big serpent, like huge, would come swimming up, and he'd come on shore, and he'd take that a human being and he'd eat it, like how they just swallow it.
Man.
And yeah, and then it gets worse. So after the snake gets like swallows him, the old man takes his knife and he lifts the scale up and he scratches that bad medicine off of him, and then he uses that to hurt community members or whoever. Yeah, and I don't want to tell that one on my podcast because I don't know if it's real, and I don't want to, this bad energy.
Mm-hmm.
You never know if people know who this person is. But yeah, I don't know if it sounds real or like he could have wrote a book or a little movie or something because that scared me.
Man.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
next one I was yeah.
there are different kind of stories, and a story that I told on, I think it was on Spirit Talkers with Water Monsters. So we're talking about
Hmm.
old kind of medicine stories, and when it comes to these snakes, and big snakes are all over the place.
Yeah.
Um, but they'd sing a song,
Hmm.
and I was told, and I'll say it here, but I was told it was some kind of, it had to do with some type of four corner song is what it was kind of is what I was told.
Hmm.
Now, like I said, I don't know if that's what exact song, but it has to do with something with the, I don't know. But anyways, and they got that snake to come up, and they do that same thing with that story you just told. They do
Yeah.
that same thing, and that's how they do. That's how they get their healing medicine,
Yeah.
and so it's crazy how I even found out about story, and I was told this story when I was like a young kid,
Hmm.
but basically there was a guy who was real traditional,
Hmm.
and he was messing around at the grounds. And one thing about about grounds that are here in Oklahoma, they're always near water. They're next to a water source,
Yeah.
and is that again that might be similar to what you guys
Yeah.
had down there too as well, or up there, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But but the gentleman, the young kid at the time, he went down there, and he saw that whole thing transpire, and he went the Christian route after that.
Oh man, yeah, I think I would too. Yeah, I'd go somewhere else anyways. Like with ours, yeah, we have good. Like what I was taught was like a good way of living.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to, I don't know, hurt people. but we have that as well out here, and yeah, there's two sides, right? Like it's like the good wolf, the bad wolf. Which one you're gonna feed, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah, that's
That's a
the one I was holding on to.
man. Holding on to that. That's a great story, man. I appreciate you sharing
Yeah.
it. And but yeah, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Donno, where can they find you? Um, on social media, where can they find you? And I'll also tag you in the description of this video as well. But let the people know kind of where they can find you.
All right. So I'm on Spotify. So Rez Scares. Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and I haven't looked at those ones. But yeah, social media. Facebook is Rez Scares. You can send a request to friend. Yeah, it'd be interesting too to get others' stories right from around, everywhere around the
Mm-hmm.
world, basically. And yeah, Instagram and Twitter, I believe they're all Rez Scares, just RezScares. So yeah, and I have YouTube as well, but there's only one episode on that. The first one, I got to work on that at some point, but yeah, we get busy, so
Yeah, it
yeah,
happens, man. But man, I
yeah,
appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I've been hyping you up the last couple weeks.
yeah,
I knew we had talked for a little bit to try to see if I can get you on. I can get you on the podcast. And I can't. I'm gonna say this. I appreciate you coming on and sharing the information and sharing your stories, man. It is much appreciated.
yeah. Thank you for having me. Yeah,
No problem at all. But guys, you guys can catch me Facebook, You Hold a Tiger, Warcry Podcast, Instagram, and TikTok, Warcry Pod, Twitter, One Man Band 918. The email is realwarcrypod@gmail.com. Send your stories in. This is Creepy 4 is coming out around Christmas time. So get your stories in. And then also I have the Amazon link for Halloween costumes. Get your kids something nice. It also helps the podcast. But like I said, I appreciate Donno from Rez Scares, and I appreciate you guys listening in. And I'll catch you on the next one.